Hi drummers, hope you're well. Little one for beginners here. This is a 16th note beat or a 16th note feel. This is the version where you play one stick on the hi-hat all the way, and it sounds like this. And so on. So if you think of a tune like maybe Purple Rain by Prince, that's got a great example of that kind of fairly slow, and this groove tends to be slow up to moderate sort of speeds, but it has that 16th note feel on the hi-hat, which again for a beginner is kind of quite a fun thing to get into, I think, when you're first getting started. Let's break it down. Like a lot of basic grooves that we play on the drums, the most basic version of this has a bass drum or a kick on beat 1 and a snare drum on beat 2, kick again on beat 3, and a snare drum on beat 4, right? So we've got at its heart, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you know, so much that you're going to play, man. If you're into rock, pop, R&B, like contemporary music type stuff, so much of what you're going to play is going to have that at its heart. Kick, snare, kick, snare. The snare drum hit on 2 and 4 is what drummers refer to as a backbeat, or musicians refer to as a backbeat. So a big hit on the 2 and the 4 is the backbeat. Now, when you first start playing the drums, the most common thing you would learn is either a quarter note feel, or probably even more commonly an 8th note feel as your first drum beat. So a lot of drummers play. And these are 8th notes or quavers on the hi-hat. The count there is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. That's an 8th note feel. Now, assuming you can do that one, you've mastered that one, you then move on to a 16th note feel. That's what we're doing here. Now, on 16th notes or semiquavers, the count is 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, like the word cappuccino, right? Cappuccino, 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 cappuccino. So what we're going to do here is play 4 cappuccinos through the bar, or 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. Your lead stick, which for me is your right stick, whatever stick you're playing on the hi-hat with, will play all of the notes in this version of this groove on the hi-hat. Remember, your bass drum is going to coincide with the 1, your snare drum is going to, which is with your other stick, is going to coincide with the 2, your bass drum with the 3, and the snare drum with the 4. That makes what we call one bar. I often find in a lot of the lessons that I teach, beginners are often confused about what one bar is. A bar is when you, in this case, count to 4 and then you restart again at 1. That's the beginning of the next bar. So here, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 2 kick drums, 2 snare drums. That's one bar. I'll play you one bar of the groove here. 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. You got it? 3 E and a, 4 E and a, 1 E and a, 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So another way of saying that, beginners often describe this back to me as, okay, so I play a bass drum with the hi-hat one time, and then I play 3 hi-hats on its own. That's beat 1, 1 E and a. You got it? So bass and hi-hat, and then hi-hat, hi-hat, hi-hat. Then on beat 2, snare drum and hi-hat, and then the 3 hi-hats on their own, and so on. Let's go real slow and talk it through. This is a great thing to do, especially if you're finding this challenging at first. Completely fine, and a really good way to do it is to just say the combinations out loud, show your hands and your feet and your brain working together those combinations, let that settle in a little bit, let the precedent be set in your nervous system basically for the coordination, and then it gets easier and easier from there. And right from the start, actually, in my opinion, being a beginner on the drums, just getting into that idea, the principle of the thing there of, you know, slowing down and showing your brain the information could well be the difference between, in the end, being really good at playing the drums and not. That kind of that patience to sort of do that, to break things down in that way, and just, you know, again, set the precedent in your nervous system for stuff, can end up being everything, honestly, on the drums as you progress. So set that precedent now, and you'll seriously be in business. Let's break this one down. So hi-hat and kick, hi-hat, 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 hi-hat and snare, hi-hat, 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 hi-hat and kick, hi-hat, 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 hi-hat and snare. So remember the count: 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. So that'd be the first step, just having a little play with that, getting to know it, getting grooving with it. What we like to do then, usually in our sessions, is we play a little 4-bar loop, right? So we'll play 3 bars of that groove. Remember, a bar is 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 2 bass drums and 2 snare drums in a bar. Played 3 bars of groove, and on the 4th bar we'll play a drum fill. And the drum fill here, a good place to start if you're a beginner, is just to play 16th notes themselves, semi-quavers or 16th notes around your drum kit. So 4 hits on the snare drum. If you've got a 4-piece setup like this, or a snare drum with the 3 toms, go snare drum 1 E and a, high tom 2 E and a, mid tom 3 E and a, floor tom 4 E and a, like this. And at this point, I reckon do that as right, left, or single stroke roll, one stick and then the other, okay, when you're doing the drum fill. So here's the whole loop, man. I'll play you the little 4-bar loop that I'd really recommend doing if you're a beginner and you're just starting with this 16th note feel. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Here it comes. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3, 4. Okay, that's 1 bar. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. That's 2 bars. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. That's a 3rd bar. Here's the fill. And back into the groove. You got it? That's 1 bar. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. That's 2 bars. 1 E and a 2 E and a. And drum fill. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And so on. Brilliant place to start, man. Obviously in music it doesn't always go like that, but that's just a great place to start, because then you're practicing so much stuff at once as a beginner. You're getting the groove going, you're playing it in time, you're practicing the skills of keeping track of where you are, counting along, absolutely massive skill, which will pay you back and facilitate things being easier to learn over and over again as you progress. And then you're also going from the groove into a drum fill, playing that cleanly, keeping the same tempo going, exactly the same note value that you're playing on the hi-hat, you're now playing around the kit on the drum fill. And then you might notice, actually, I'll briefly discuss this as well. When I went back to the groove there, I crashed back into the groove. So I hit a crash cymbal on the re-entry to the groove. So let's have a think about that. Let's go from the drum fill one time. 1 E, 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. If we just restarted the groove as we were playing it before, we'd go back to the hi-hat, wouldn't we, and play 1 E and a 2 E and a. And that's completely fine. When you very first start, you can do that. But quite quickly, one of the things we quite like to do is to throw in a crash cymbal. And I always think of this as a bit like the capital letter at the start of a new sentence. When you do your drum fill and you go back to your groove, not always in music, but very often it's nice to hear a crash on the 1, man. It kind of announces to the listener and to the other musicians in your band that, okay, this is the start of a new bit of groove. Now, all this is that your lead stick, the same stick that's been playing on the hi-hat, is going to hit the crash cymbal on the count of 1. There's no extra note, there's no change in rhythm or anything at all. The only difference is you hit the crash cymbal instead of the hi-hat on the 1. Let me show you real slow, man. I'll go from the drum fill. 1 I'm going to do the 1 E and a, 2 E and a. So can you see there where I go to the crash, instead of going 1 E and a, 2 E and a, all I've done is for the very first hit, I've moved up to the crash, then resumed on the hi-hat, on the E if you like, after that. 1 E and a, 2 E and a. What a lot of beginners will do, and I almost certainly did when I started, is do this. And that's not it, man. The whole thing has to keep going. It has to be 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a, crash E and a, 2 E and a. So I can only repeat there, the crash cymbal is the count of 1. If you're right-handed and playing it in the manner that I am here, your right stick will hit the crash and then immediately move to the hi-hat. It's the same number of notes, the same coordination, the same count as it's always been all the way through. It's just that for that very first hit, your right stick in this case takes a little journey up to the crash and goes back to the hi-hat. So I'm just going to play around on this a little bit, and what I'll do is link to in the description below some tunes I recommend playing along to. Purple Rain by Prince is normally where we start actually in the sessions that I run, just because it's nice and slow and nice and groovy, and it's just classic. Everyone likes it. It's quite long as well, which is quite fun, so you get a bit of a chance to have a play with it. Try once you kind of got the feel of this basic 4-bar loop, you can try putting your drum fill in where it kind of feels appropriate in the music. Be prepared to get this wrong 100 times, by the way. It's completely fine. But you kind of, right from the start here, you can kind of develop a little feel as well for like anticipating where a drum fill will work. If you find that tricky at first, that's completely fine. But I would say whatever you do, get some music on and get playing along. I'll put a couple of other suggestions as well. One of the other ones we use quite a lot is a song by John Mayer, the great John Mayer, Who You Love. And that's quite a bit faster. So as you develop that. In fact, I've got another video as well about getting faster with this groove, which I'll link to. Check that out below as well. Okay, I'm just going to play around it a little bit. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. Here we go. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and drum fill. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a crash back in. Second bar, here's the third bar, and the drum fill. You got it? One time again. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and here's the third bar, and drum fill. So there you have it, classic one to get going with when you're a beginner. Probably after you've done your straight 8s feel, you might turn to that next. You might do a triplet feel, you might do this one, but it's a brilliant little one to have up your sleeve if you're just starting out on the drums, especially on a slower tune. Those hi-hats, those extra hi-hats compared to a regular rock beat, a regular 8th note feel, can really fill it out and just make it groove a little bit more and can be really, really nice. I hope that's useful. Have some fun with it. Just play around with it. Give yourself a break, man. It's like these things take a little time to build up if you're just starting. Remember, you'll get it wrong 100 times. The getting around the fill and hitting the crash is definitely the trickiest bit at first. Take your time with that. Be kind to yourself. Say it out loud, talk it through, and you'll be fine. Thanks a million for watching as always. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks so much to all the people who've done that. Thanks to all the lovely people who've supported this channel by buying me a coffee. Really appreciate that. It's kept me going to make all these videos. And to all the amazing monthly members signing up now who are helping this channel grow and supporting it in that way. I hugely appreciate it, and hopefully getting some useful stuff in return as well. Thanks a million. See you soon. Cheers.